All right, so we are live on Facebook, and those of you watching the Zoom, thank you for tuning in. Super pumped to be interviewing one of the masters when it comes to expired listings. For those of you that don't know, Espresso Agent is an incredible expired platform that provides data. Now, Bill, does Espresso Agent hand you the expired appointments on a silver platter, or do you actually have to try to get the expireds?
It'd be really nice, wouldn't it, if that could all happen? Yeah, no, you're going to have to try a little bit. You're going to have to pick up that phone and make that call. So, you know, whether it be FSBOs or expireds, you're going to have to open your mouth and make the call. So yes, we will help. We'll help you do that. But yeah, we'll teach you how to do that if you have to.
And that's actually why you're on the call right now. Why we're picking your brain is opening your mouth, right? So I have found, I run 2 teams, and I have found that overwhelmingly people are just super afraid of calling expired sellers. It's almost hilarious. Have you found that to be the case in your training and coaching? Yeah.
You know what? I just finished up. Actually, Barry, I just finished up 2 days here. I should have called you. Of doing this. So, it is, I figured out after 34 years of being in real estate and coaching for a long time is that we need to know why we say things and also why we are afraid. And we're actually afraid of someone we've never met before. And we're afraid of someone who gets a little uptight with us. And usually because we don't know the difference in personalities. I mean, plus these people are, they were lied to, and now someone else is trying to get their listing. So it is a challenge because we're so affected by a stranger saying something to us that you don't even know.
Right.
So it's tough.
So bad.
Yeah, it is tough. And I think that by understanding whatever the different studies on personalities are, there's usually 4 basic styles of personalities, from very demanding to a very amiable type. But I think that when you know that that person on the phone is that type of person, you don't have to take it so personally that they're stepping on us. Your job, my job in prospecting is to find that nugget, that one person, because you're going to have to call a whole lot of people to find that one person that says, you know what, I want you to come over and talk to me. But I'm also finding, Barry, that we're not understanding how to talk to people because, and if you don't mind me just running around with this a little bit. It's just the fact that
no, go for it.
There's a couple of things. There are a couple of things that I've realized that we are doing in the split second that we make the call that's causing us to get hang-ups or people to get rejected. A couple of things that I've noticed. Number one, we're using the person's name. Okay, now this goes contrary to a whole bunch of scripts that are out there. So, for instance, if you call me William when you're calling me and I'm an expired, you're either the FBI, the police, or my wife, right?
Right.
And so I'm in trouble any way you shake it. So if you call a James a Jim, so right off the bat, the meter in the back of someone's head is saying salesy kind of person, he's trying to close me, and they get the click or they get the resistance. So I'm suggesting to a lot of people is that you ask the question, but you don't go, hey, is this William Crespo or is this Barry Jenkins, and then you're wondering, how did you find my name out? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it makes total sense. You lose credibility.
Yeah. And then we go like this. Good morning. How are you, Barry Jenkins? Right. And then there's then it's a hang up. So we're really causing a lot of that from the beginning of the call by setting us up for failure in the beginning. So I've noticed that there's a thing that I've been coaching on and teaching for a long time called the rejection-free opener. Okay, the rejection. So we call it RFO, the rejection-free opener. If anybody's listening, it's very simple. It's, hey, I'm not sure if you can help me. I guarantee you, if you start every script that you have out with, I'm not sure if you can help me, people tend to go like this. They're like, they want to listen. It keeps them on a little bit longer. We have to engage the brain when we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want resistance. So what we're doing is subconsciously challenging them to listen. Think about it. Go up to a desk at a hotel or go up to the airline counter and go, hey, I'm not sure if you can help me. And watch the reaction of the person, how they look at you. Same thing happens on the phone with people. And for whatever the magic is in those words, it's almost like a mental challenge. So the first seconds of a call really would determine where you're going with that conversation. And you want to engage that person where they're not defensive. They're not in this flight or fight syndrome, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And now that you're saying that, I can think of when real estate lead gen companies call me. And there was this period of about 6 months where a lot of them were saying, hey, Barry, you asked me to give you a call. And so, I'm giving you a call. And it's like, wait, what? The first time they got me, after that, I knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Oh, they go really, some people get me every so often. Hey, Bill. And I go, what? And I find out it's not, it's a call. So you've got to really, but it does, that tonality did get me. So, hey, I'm not sure if you can help me, really starts to engage that audience, and then making sure that we have a great follow-up to that. And I think that because there's so many people calling, that we have to sound completely different than the other person who's calling. And it obviously has to be conversational. So I think with expires especially, right, everybody's pouncing on that same lead at the same time almost. So by sounding completely opposite of the people, they start to be wondering, who is this person? And then you've got to follow up with conversation. So it's with a conversational type of approach.
No, that makes perfect sense. And so just to back up, you did a few things there that I want to make sure everybody caught. One, it felt like you were putting us in the perspective of the expired lead. You were saying, like, they've been lied to, they've been told a job was going to get done and it wasn't. So now, we're entering into the conversation with that in mind, and then you're using an opener that doesn't immediately cause you to lose credibility. Would that be a good oversimplification of like the initial?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think it gives you an opportunity to win. Yeah,
okay, gives you an opportunity to win. Now, you caused them, you called them, they paused, right? So you got their attention. How do you not get hung up on right away? Because that tends to be a problem for a lot of agents as well.
Okay, so obviously we have this thing about identifying who we are. So the first question is, I'm not sure if you can help me. And then I go right into, is the home at 123 Main Street still for sale? With Barry Jenkins, the agent. Okay, so, and they go, well, why are you asking? My name is Bill Crespo, I'm with so-and-so company. So what happens is, in the split second when they say, yes, I already re-listed with Barry, what's happening, we're taking way too long on phone calls. And every second that we're wasting on a wasted expired call is hurting us from getting another call with another expired that has the opportunity. So if it's listed with Barry Jenkins, I'm done. Thank you so much. I'm moving on. So they may say, you know what, yeah, it's not, or we thought it was, and then you can go down your script. But what we're doing in the first seconds of the call is completely sounding reverse of what the agents are doing right now, which is, there's one thing, one line that I hate, and I know this is going to cause some problems, but, are you familiar with my techniques? No, I don't, because I don't know who the hell you are. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is, we have used, and Barry, I'll tell you my philosophy right now, and I'm really talking a lot about this right now, is that, remember in the 50s and 60s, people were door knocking. That was kind of a normal way of doing business. And then people were, that was accepted. And those 50s and 60s hard closing type of attempts were now carried into the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And it got kind of accepted a lot in the 80s and 90s. Now the consumer has knowledge, they have more information, they're a little more skilled in how to talk to us, and they feel that they are looking no longer for a salesperson, but they're looking for a consultant. They need an advisor, and we're still talking like a salesperson. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So how can we change that?
Well, and you got my wheels spinning, because one of the things that I'm, when you look at the personality test, I'm like a super high I and a super high S. I just want everybody to love me, right? Like, and I just, I shouldn't be a business owner. But anyway, long story short. And so when I was calling expireds, I kind of fell into this approach of just like gushing over them with information, just because I wanted to help. And I started to watch as I started to get a lot of appointments by just trying to help. And it's like, wow, it's such a novel idea. Yeah. But that's kind of what, as you're talking about it, that's what you're saying. We need to be the guide, not the salesperson at that moment.
Yeah, right. And the law of reciprocity, when you read the book on the Influence, Science and Practice by Robert Cialdini, it's a great book. And he talks about how
I'll check it out.
You raise the level of influence and authority. So when you have influence and authority, so that reduces the amount of objections when people sense that you have some expertise and you sound different. The thing that sometimes happens with I's and S's, your expressives and your amiable people, is that we over rapport and lose the expertise sounding person, the consultant person, because we end up hugging and kissing and being friends. And when it comes down to closing, we're a little feeling uncomfortable. And then when it comes down to get a price reduction, you're such a buddy that they don't listen to you. Does that make sense?
Right.
That happens a lot.
Just want to hug them to death.
Yeah. I've got a picture that I teach in one of my workshops that it's just like a kumbaya moment that people want to have. And it's like you're feeling really good. So when I talk to a client, I go, hey, how did that appointment go? Oh, they love me, Bill. They just love me. And they said they come back tomorrow and they got to sign. And guess what happens? They give you the Dear Barry call or the Dear, we want to avoid that as much as possible. So the impact in the initial call and establishing high influence, high authority in the beginning helps to continue the continuancy of them seeing you that way, so that when you make that advice, they go with it and they go, gosh, this guy Barry's completely different than these other agents that I've seen. That kind of.
All right. So we've got one thing I just want to point out, Bill. We've got over 50 people watching via Facebook Live right now, and nobody's dropped off. So everybody's watching, and I want to make sure that they heard the beginning. And so just to reiterate where we're at,
sure.
He started off by saying, understand where the seller's at, that they, they were told a job was going to get done. It didn't happen. They're generally just trusting, so to speak. And then, we need to make sure that when we're calling people, that we're not losing credibility right away. I'm not paraphrasing this right, but just, I just want to make sure that everybody's up to speed. Then when you get them on the phone, we're selling instead of providing value to where they want more, or we're not establishing credibility. Now, what about when you give too much? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Were you going to say something?
No, I was going to say, just to make sure that people understand that I think we need to take the position that we are the expert. We are the doctor and they're the patient. And at times we're so nervous that they are the doctor and we feel like we're the patient, or that we're not the doctor, we're the nurse, or we're the person that cleans the bedpans underneath the bed. We're not even sounding like we have authority. And so then if you don't sound like you have authority and influence, I don't mean that hard driver type, but that you're inquiring to see whether or not this house can even be something that you want. That's a different perspective.
Yeah, I've had a few where I was like, I think I'm going to pass.
Yeah. Sorry. My wife used to get on me all the time. She goes, be careful because you like to win. And then you're stuck with the hot potato for, 6 months that you knew that you shouldn't have gotten, but just because I won on that phone call, So I think we need to understand today, the game is, it's all about you being able to communicate at a high level. The consumer is looking for a more sophisticated person with knowledge because they've got knowledge now. So you have to sound like that. Now, you could get a listing easily because you over-report, and then you're the victim of an expired listing yourself, and then some other agent gets it. So we need to establish that we are an authority here, that we have expertise, and I'm not even sure if I could help you, but I like to come by and take a look at it. So now we take it away from pushing. Now they come towards us versus going that way, and then they run away from us. And the other thing
you're attracting them to you.
Yes, yes. And you had said something in the beginning is that, you know, we just got to make sure that we understand that how we sound has a lot to do with it. So tonality has a lot to do with it. And understanding that they're going to be upset. They're not upset at you. You know, you're not a bad person. You're a dad, you're a mom, you're a sister, you're a brother. They don't know you. Don't take it personally.
Right. No, that's it's really, really key. Now, so you're establishing credibility, whether it's through sounding credible or giving credible information. You know, where do you go from there? You've got them listening to you. This is everything you wanted, right? This is why they took the espresso agent course. And it's like, all right, I've got them, you know, and I've got a live one. So how do we transition in the call?
Well, okay. So typically something happens in their response. It's either they're frustrated because they're off the market now. They're taken off the market for a while because they need a break, or plans have changed completely. So, you know, obviously there's 3 or 4 different, let's say, for lack of a better word, moves you're going to make there. And I just want to address one that everybody kind of falls in a trap, because could that expired not be telling you the truth? You know, could they be, could they out technique us on the phone by pushing you away by just saying something? And I think that happens. So we need to validate what they're saying is true or not. So they may say, listen, you know, we don't know what's going on with the property right now, so we're going to take a break. All right. So now you have a choice. You're going to go in and then sell them really hard about why they need to meet with you, or, which I, in some cases, know that face-to-face is going to be the highest rate of conversion you can ever have with someone is face-to-face. Harvard did the study, bar none, getting face-to-face. So do I close hard now on the phone, or do I try to get in the house and then close there? So that takes some time. So when someone says, you know, we're going to take it off the market for a while, we don't know what we're going to do. So either I close hard or I decide to go back door. So I decide here to go back door, and I'll say something like this. So, Mr. Seller, let me ask this question. If I get a phone call for someone that's interested in your neighborhood, would it be okay if I contact you? All right. So very logical question. I'm not trying to push, but I need to find out if they're still really interested in selling. And then they go, well, yeah, definitely call me. Then I go right into another close. Great. So that I know more about your property. I'd like to stop by there for a couple, 15 or 20 minutes to get to know your property. So is today or tomorrow convenient for me to stop by? Okay.
Okay.
So now what we're doing, we're going in the house and getting a face-to-face. While everybody else is chasing on the phone, I'm in. Because we tried to close so hard that we lost the opportunity to get to the house.
Right.
Follow?
Right. Yeah, no, it does. It does. We basically, we're not closing for the right sale. We're going for too much too soon instead of making the sale that we can make, which is to get in person. So no, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I've got people making a lot of money doing that, and that's because so many people. Because if you blow out an expired lead, for instance, let's say you did go really hard, and they said, "Listen, I don't need to talk to you. I'm done with you agents, whatever." And now you're trying to get back in again. They probably don't remember you, but they remember the experience, and they may not want you to come back in. So once they see you, right, and you go there prepared to demonstrate who you are. You're a professional, you're knowledgeable. Now they see you as someone completely different than that last agent, hopefully, that listed the property and was not successful. So now that's when you start to do your fact finding.
Absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And something else you just said got my wheels spinning, because when someone tells me, like you said, I think I'm going to take a break for a little while. a lot of times I'm a naturally inquisitive person, which is why, by the way, they have me do these webinars because I ask a lot of questions. But I'm like, you know, oh, wow. Like, wait, so you wanted to sell and now you're not? Like, tell me about that. What happened? Right. And I found out that that's a good approach generally. Right. I mean, is that, you know, wanting to know more about where they're coming from and,
yeah, I mean, I think it's a normal reaction. I mean, I'm not going to tell you something that I mean, everybody is doing the same thing. Do you understand? 80 to 90% of the agents that are calling are reacting the same way. How can you sound distinctive where there is a different type of approach? So I'm going to throw some suggestions out there. Remember that when you say why or ask the question why, that takes it to the emotional right brain. When you use the question what, that takes it to the left brain. So what caused your house not to sell is probably more consultative than the word why. You understand?
Okay.
So if I'm going to change my language to sound like an expert, sound like an advisor, I would probably say, what caused your house not to sell versus why did your house not sell? Like, hey, you know, now you're down the salesy guy. I want to be your best friend. And maybe you're digging too deep right now. But when you ask the what question, that takes it to the logical. Now, if you're dealing with a analytical, that's great. But still, it's like I always tell the people, like, if I ask my kids why they came in late, as your kids are going to get older, they're going to come in late, right? They're supposed to be home at 12. And you go, why are you home late? And they're going to go, well, Susan and her boyfriend had an argument. But if I go, what caused you to come home late? It's a different question versus a what.
No, that's actually the what being the right brain, and the why.
What? The
left
what
brain.
is left brain. The why is right brain.
Why is right brain. Honestly, for those of you watching right now, if you just learn that, I think that's a really, really big deal. You know, understanding the emotional versus the logical side of the conversation, that's pretty deep, Bill. You're smarter than you look, man. I mean,
listen. Don't teach your wife any of this stuff because it doesn't work at home. Because our conversations go like this. So why'd you say that? I don't know. What was the reason? And we never get anywhere. It's just back and forth, what and why, and it's crazy. But,
she knows all your tricks.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I am totally discovered at home. But I think that, I guess the other thing that you were just making mention is the fact that we do have to understand behavior science just a little bit more than what we did before. So certain words to use are more impactful. Certain ways of delivering it. You know, when you ask a question from a psychological standpoint, a question, whether someone verbalizes or not, your brain goes into a question answering mode. So when you're, instead of always making statements all the time, you need to break it up with questions to engage that mind to listen and talk to you. So it's actually, all that stuff is fascinating, but it gives you the power to be able to have conversations going the direction that you want when you understand that.
No, that makes perfect sense. And, you know, with Lab Coats, I do a lot of digital marketing so I work for Ylopo, which is an online lead generation company. And so one of the things that we worked on was, you know, seller marketing and seller remarketing and bringing them back to you. And it's funny because even when someone is coming to your website, so it's not an outbound expired call, maybe they were expired and they're researching, all of these things still apply. I mean, it's still, you know, just because they expired doesn't, it's still, even like for new seller leads, I would think a lot of this same stuff applies.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, this philosophy should run through all your prospecting, even if you're texting. I'm getting a lot of questions now about texting to expireds. The same principles, the trouble with texting is that the agent sometimes believes, hey, I'm having a great conversation. We're going back and forth, but there's no commitment. Remember, they don't want to make a commitment. So you're not really where you need to be when you're going back and forth just because they're talking to you. We still got to get into the house. We still got to make a face-to-face impression with them. So leaving some level of curiosity on that text is going to get them more interested in you so that you get in the door. And you can actually use the same thing I just said about, you know, hey, if I get a phone call for someone interested in your neighborhood, would it be okay to contact you? Oh, yes. And you can still say, hey, great, I'd like to come by and stop by for 15 or 20 minutes to take a look at it. They need to see you face to face as soon as possible. Hanging with a lead that says they're going to do something in 30 days and you keep calling and you've never done a face-to-face with them, there's someone that's going to get that from you because they're actually going to go to the door. So we've got to not be so cocooned and get ourselves out a little bit more than we normally are.
Right. And so coming up with things that are valuable. So you said, well, I'd like to stop by so that when I have a buyer, I'll know what the house looks like. Okay. So from a seller's perspective, that's not a complete waste of their time. And, you know, sometimes I think it can be challenging for agents to, okay, what can I give other than just reducing my commission, right? What can I give that's something of value that makes me interesting? So, you know, checking out at for my buyers, any other items of value or things of value that, you know, you guys have found successful with your espresso agent expired calls?
Well, if you read the book from Robert Gialdini, and I highly recommend people, it's not the best exciting storybook, but it is a research book that was done on influence and authority and how to be persuasive quickly with people. And it's not about what it is that you're giving them, it's the fact that you're giving them something. So one of the 6 principles of persuasion is the law of reciprocity, right? I give you this, you give me listing. So it's not really the how great the thing is, because I think that if you're giving up the stuff that they would have to pay for when they list with you, you're actually, in my opinion, wimping out. You're giving them free information without them paying for it. So what you give them is enough of a teaser that they can see that you're someone of high influence and high authority, that you're an expert at what you talk about, but don't give them the full enchiladas because they can't wait to take something free from you and not call you back.
No, this is freaking so interesting. So what's the name of that book you just referenced again? I know it's behavioral science.
Yeah, Influence, Science, and Practice by Robert Gialdini.
Influence, Science.
Yeah, I don't think it's on my shelf. Actually, it's right here, actually. I studied him on several books, and I don't know if you can see this book. Probably not, because you can't see it with my light.
No.
But there it is right there.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. And he goes over how to be persuasive and the science behind persuasion. Okay. They did a story about this waiter. Now, this shows you how, if you're consistent doing the same thing, how human behavior works. So this waiter would go to, he went undercover to watch this waiter work because he had the highest tips and the higher food sales than anybody in the restaurant in this market. He found out that the guy would do this. He'll go up to the people, go, hey, how you doing, Bob and Susan? Hey, welcome to the restaurant. And he'd go, what can I get you? And she goes, well, can I have the filet? And he would go, can I make a suggestion? And I saw the filet coming out of the kitchen today. It didn't look as good. Can I suggest this other thing? And whatever they say, I like a hamburger. Can I make a suggestion? I saw the way the hamburger looked coming out of the kitchen today. It wasn't exactly the way. He did this every time. Now, is that a little deceptive? Probably. But the point there is his delivery, understanding that human nature goes, oh my gosh, he protected me from the scary filet. Okay. And now he kept ordering more things, which I recommend this wine. I recommend this. His sales were high and his commissions or his tips were high. The point there is that human beings typically act the same way 80% of the time. So do you know what it takes to get the reactions that you want and use the right words and the right actions to get the reaction that you want to get a listing? That's the point of the book.
That's super interesting. You know, it's funny because I've often said, you know, you need to send like a blog article and say, hey, I saw this and thought of you. And I said, and they're not reading it. They just remembered that I sent something to you.
Exactly.
So they're not,
No, you gave them something.
Really, really interesting.
You gave them something, you know, and they like that. In the book, they were trying to get a survey out to get better returns on the survey. So the survey was only getting 34% return from the people that took the survey. They added a yellow sticky note inside the envelope, and they got a 40-some% return back, because the person goes, oh my God, they gave me a yellow pad, a yellow sticky with nothing on it. They felt like they got something. They better do something back. Now, that same yellow sticky, the guy started writing a note on it and got the surveys out. They got a 60-some% return back when the sticky had a handwritten note, which meant that that person went out of their way and wrote something. They felt obligated to return that back to them. So in our business, what are we doing that can actually get us a higher return in that whole principle of reciprocity, law of reciprocity?
Reciprocity.
I think right now, handwritten notes are powerful.
So the law of reciprocity, you know, like when somebody gets you a Christmas gift that you weren't expecting, and then you feel like you've got to give them something. Would that be an example of this?
Same thing. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Wow.
You know, and that's why I always say when you go to the door, you give them something. It doesn't have to be like one of the ladies today was asking me, what do I leave? I said, go to your MLS, take a general report out from your marketplace, color it, make it look like it's, you know, a nice graph thing or whatever it may be, put your card on and say, hey, listen, thanks for letting me come by, and give it to them. If you can't close for that listing right there, you're constantly contributing back to things that they would be interested in. But the whole point of it is that you're giving them something, and hopefully they will give you the opportunity to have an interview, to list the home, or to actually take the listing itself. And that the whole idea of behavior science is what I'm trying to introduce to everybody to understand.
Yeah, no, this is really, really good. So for those of you that have watched today, you know, we started off just by saying, you know, making sure that, you know, you're making the calls, that you're not afraid, that you're not using verbiage that pushes them away, and you're coming up with something valuable and you're giving it to them, and really instituting that law of reciprocity. Now, I know that Espresso Agent provides cell phone numbers, landlines, and emails. Do you feel like there's a difference? Like if your dialer, for whatever reason, isn't calling both numbers, would you always say cell over landline, or have an opinion there?
You know what? You know, the old days before we had all this, we were just making calls. I think that we just got to get out and get in front of people. I mean, make the calls as quickly as possible, because we're overthinking too much and we're slowing down. We're messing up the law of averages here. So you have to make a lot more calls than ever. So if you're doing a lot of research, because I got these people that are always, let me just do some research about the house because I want to know about it before I talk to the people. You're spending too much time on that, and your numbers are not there because you're not making enough contacts. If you spent, what, 10 minutes on doing something. You know, here's the fastest way to find out about the house is to make the call and ask the question. Then to look at the picture. Absolutely. You know, you're wasting so much time, and I think it's you know, the numbers and the people are never home anymore. There's no one home anymore. So you're really trying to get as many people at that moment to talk to, and then you're going to have to probably call in the afternoon and the evenings later on to keep your numbers up. But we're not making enough contact because we're spending too much time on researching the number and all the things you got to know about before you make the call, I think.
No, I agree. I was telling my agent the other day, I said, look, let's be honest, what's going on? You're scared. And so you've got like note memorization disorder. Like you're like, I'm nervous. I'm going to memorize everything. And, you know, get ready. And I said, and you know what? I'm going to call and I'm going to say, there's been a lot going on in the 23452 area. Why isn't your home sold, or whatever? And I'm going to have the same impact that you are when you're saying, I see that your home has vinyl siding and it's 465 square foot garage, and nobody cares. Like, so just make it happen. Make the call. And so no, that makes a lot of sense. It's hilarious, but it definitely makes a lot of sense.
We call that creative avoidance. You know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, creative avoidance, because we're coming up with all this stuff, really don't want to talk about it. And I think also, I was talking to someone yesterday or today, I said, listen, you may have to white out the zeros, because the more zeros it has, the more, for some reason, you treat it completely different. Oh my God, it has a couple more zeros. You know, what do we do here? You start to panic and you want to look at this big house, and just because it's $1 million house, your approach should be the same as any property.
Right.
Don't panic about
Right.
it. So yeah, so it is creative avoidance, that takes us away from being more effective at calling.
Well, I'm going to say that this has been one of the most content-packed 45-minute webinars that I personally have been a part of in the LCA community. It's apparent that you have done your homework, birthed out of probably a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, well, yeah,
but
sure.
So for those that are watching, so I want you to speak to the people that aren't calling or working expireds. If I was sitting in front of you, we were having coffee, and I say, Bill, I get it. You work expireds and all that. It's just not for me. Or, I've never had success. I'm just going to focus on other stuff. What advice would you give somebody that that really just hasn't jumped into it?
Well, I think no doubt from all the research that we've been doing and looking at different ways of developing business, you should be in 5 sources minimally. 5 sources. You pick the 5, but you need to be in 5 sources. And those 5 sources are buckets that you're trying to have business coming in from. So I think that that's a biggie, because we put our eggs in 2 or 3 of them, or maybe just 1, thinking that's going to make it for us, and we're wondering why we haven't made the production. The other thing too is that you have to learn how to speak at a higher level. That the person that you are at home with your kids and with your friends, and all of a sudden you're the same personality all day long, does not work when you're developing your business. So learning about how you can transform into being this consultant, this different person. And I'm a book freak, so there's another book that I highly recommend called Alter Ego, written by Tom Herman. Another great book. He's talking about how he was coaching and training athletes and professionals how to be that person for the moment, because we're so afraid to call strangers that it's because we are the dad or the mom or the friend or that same personality. You're going to have to go into your phone booth and be that hero and coming out strong. Forget about all that other stuff. You're worried about your ego so much that you've got to come in with the alter ego. So
man,
I should have a library. Here's the other book I recommend. I don't know if you can see that one, but it's called Alter Ego. Here we go.
Oh, it's yellow. I see that.
Yeah, it's a yellow book. You'll find it. Look it up.
Tilted. Okay. Oh, there it is. There it is. I got it. Alter Ego. Okay. Got it.
Because you need to change. You can't be the same person when you're prospecting or in front of someone. You do have to change a little bit. If I was like this all day long, when I get home, my wife would lock the door. She won't let me in because, honey, you're not coaching now. You're not coaching kids. So you're not talking like that. So, or if I'm on stage doing something. So I think that you got to understand that there is a transformation, and you got to study people and be comfortable with all these personality styles and know it's not you that they're trying to attack. It's just that's their personality, and they're guarding themselves. And in that book, last thing I want to say that's huge, the brain is constantly, every 5 seconds, wondering if this is safe or not, or is it dangerous? So if that's the case, when you get hung up on, that brain subconsciously said, this is not safe. So the fight or flight syndrome comes in. So that's why you're getting hung up on. That brain goes, you know what? I don't think it's safe here. You're pushing me too much. And it's click. So if the brain is assessing you every 5 seconds, or the situation around you, then you really have to work on making it easy for people to talk to you. So it's safe. So the fight or flight syndrome doesn't get affected in their heads. That's really cool.
No, that's that actually is really cool. And it is really powerful. And I'm stoked that you're in Virginia Beach, because I'm going to come check you out. And
I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So those of you that listened today, just another value add from Lab Coat Agents and Espresso Agent. Check out their platform. It's pretty amazing. I'm a user of it as well. And so thank you, Bill Crespo, and with Espresso Agent. Have a great rest of your day, and appreciate you carving out 45 minutes with us today.
Hey, thanks, Barry. I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for everybody who's listening. Talk to you soon.
Oh, yeah. Yep. All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.